Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm your host, Nancy Lewis. We're here today in the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. I'm here with Missouri Representative Ryan Silvey, and the legislation has just wrapped up for the session. And how are you feeling? When you look back on it, what's your strongest impression from the session?
Well, it's certainly good to be home, first of all. But, this year, as chairman of the Budget Committee, it's my job to, again, navigate the state's finances. And the fact that we were able to get a balanced budget done on time without raising taxes and to the governor's desk by the deadline, I think is probably the biggest accomplishment of the session.
We were just saying you can't get there. You can't get to that balanced budget without having a little pain along the way. That's just the way it is. Is there something that was cut that you wished you hadn't had to cut?
It's been the case through the entire recession. Of course, Missouri has a balanced budget requirement, so we're not allowed to deficit spend like they do in Washington, which by and large is a good thing. But that does mean that when you have a deficit, you have to cut programs in order to get to the bottom line. So, there's a number of areas where I wish we had more money and ability to spend for some programs. I mean, particularly in the areas of education. While we didn't have to cut education, we still haven't been able to put in as much as we would like. The areas, some early childhood programs. I think those are areas that we wish we could do more. But I think we did the best we could with what we had.
You say that you want a more transparent budget. What does that mean?
I think it's very important when it comes to government finance that the people know exactly where their money's going. And when I came in 8 years ago and started working on the budget, I noticed that there were a lot of things in the budget that had the letter E behind them. And as you go along and you kind of understand what that means, that E stands for estimated. And so the number in front of the E is not really a hard number. We went through this year and cleaned up a lot of those E's. And so we got rid of about 440 some of them throughout the budget, which was a huge percentage of them. And instead of putting the estimated appropriation in, we put an actual hard number that more accurately reflects what the government has been spending in those areas. So, for instance, we used to say that Missouri had a $23 billion budget, but that was with all the E's. And when we went through and took out all the E's and actually accurately reflected what was there, it's really more closer to a $24 billion budget.
We talked earlier about the things that you wished maybe you hadn't had to cut. What is something that made it into the budget that you're proud of?
I think being able to restore the governor's recommended cut to higher education is probably the biggest accomplishment. The governor had recommended a cut of $106 million to higher education, which would have represented a 25% cut to higher ed since he took office. And this year we finally said, we've had enough of that, and we're gonna make higher education a priority. So being able to fund that, I think, is probably the biggest accomplishment.
And you're hoping, if you're running for state senate, so if you get there, what are you hoping will be included at that point? What would you like to do?
Well, with term limits, you lose so much institutional knowledge as people are forced out of office. So having been involved in the budget for my entire time in the House, and it being first of all, it's our only constitutional duty for the legislature, but also it's highly technical. I would hope to be able to be on the Appropriations Committee and continue using my expertise there.
And as a part of that, we only have 30 seconds left, but if there were one thing that you'd like to get done, one thing you'd like to get in that budget, what would it be?
Certainly it would be making sure that education has adequate resources. Now, I don't believe that money solves every problem in education, but I do think you need the resources to educate the kids.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for being here. We hope to see you next time on Newsmakers.